Hello, my name is Seán Hewitt and I am a poet.
Hi, my name is FeliSpeaks and I'm a poet, performer and playwright. I like reading poetry because it feels like being invited into somebody's mental bedroom, and you kind of get to see their little secret ways of thinking about things. Because nobody's really saying anything crazy in poems. Like, nobody's saying anything that hasn't been said before. But what's interesting and always fun, this is the decor. Yes, the decor part of poetry is how they use metaphors, what kind of alliteration they're into, what ways like their words land together. Like, most people have encountered the words that you'll find in a poem, but how they are arranged is like, ooh, look at your mental bedroom. Ooh, interesting. That's what it feels like.
The thing I love about reading poetry is because it's so various. It's a really diverse art form. It can be quite scary, but also really exciting to know that no matter when or where you pick up a poem, you don't know what journey it will take you on, what it might sound like or feel like in your body, what it might get to. It might start off in one place and end up in a completely different place. And it feels a little bit like, you know, an espresso shot of language. You can read just one poem before bed every day and suddenly you've got all the way through a whole book. Or just pick it up on the bus or in the morning. And it really would only take you a couple of minutes and you've done something, you've had an experience. You might have felt something or learned something. And I don't know many art forms that in 3 or 4 minutes can do that. So that's why I love it.
So I suppose my first thing to say is when you encounter a new poem, don't be scared of it because there isn't a special intelligence to writing a poem. I think that's the first thing to know. Like, they're not like a special like alien that like they're trying to like say this magical, really intelligent thing, and I'm never gonna get it. Because really and truly, when I was younger, when I was in secondary school, sometimes I just wanted to be like, that poet is saying the sky is blue because the sky is indeed blue and he just maybe likes blue. So I think what I'm trying to say is trust what your mind interprets. It's not like the person writing that has written a poem does not have a special grade of intelligence than you do. So engaging with the poem means trusting your mind, trusting what you get out of it. That's the only way it'll work for you.
My main piece of advice to new poetry readers is not to let a poem scare you. A poem is always a piece of language of one poet trying to speak to you as an individual. And you are not inadequate to that. All you have to do is read it and see what you do get out of it. And sometimes you might not like a poem and it might be something that you can give up on and go to the next. You know, life is short and there will be poems that you love. You just have to find the right ones.
Ooh, when reading poetry and you're new at it, read it out loud. Because a thing that is often interesting is that poetry tends to be a two-man sport or two-person sport that you don't often think about. Like, so somebody would write a piece of poetry and as soon as it's on paper, it's done. Their part is done and they've handed it off. And your part is how you engage with it. So your personal tonations, your personal pauses, how you say words. So we could both say the same 3 words and we have different sounds in how we say them. So your infusion of your personality will help you understand what that person is saying. And that's mandatory because not every poem will say the same thing to every person. So it's important for you to participate in the poem in order for it to speak back to you. So when you're reading the new poem for the first time, read it out loud, and then you're like, oh. Then you hear it and you're like, this is what the person is saying. Then you read it again and you're like, this is what I think the person is saying. Does that make sense? And then the poem keeps growing because you keep engaging with it from several angles.
The first time I read a poem, I read it aloud to myself, and I try to fit it into my own voice, to feel the rhythm of it, to get some sort of comfort with the poem itself. And I might do that a couple of times. I might just read it to myself and try to see how it feels, what the rhythm is, what the music of the language is, and to try and be as open-minded about the poem as possible. And then I might kind of look back again at certain points of language or images and stuff. But the main thing really is, on the first reading, it should be an experience. And then what I often find is the more you read a poem, the deeper that experience gets, because the more familiar you are with it and the more surprises you find in it. And then you start to build up a real closeness with a particular poem. So yeah, I would say read it a couple of times. Just keep on going over it and seeing what new things that you find in it. I hope students will realise that poetry is really diverse, that each poem can be as simple as someone speaking to you, that it might be an insight into a different world or a different way of thinking. It might only take 3 minutes to change something about the way you see the world, or at least just give you an insight into a different person's way of thinking, or a different set of images for the world.
I think that it would be amazing if the students can keep writing and keep telling the truth with their writing, and that they enjoy the process of writing to tell the truth.